All right, we're getting somewhere.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. All right. I'll get situated. I'm going to share my screen. Welcome, everybody. All right, this is what's going on. So, from my last couple posts yesterday, basically, I was in some open long positions from that bounce. I didn't get in until it bounced. I wish I would have got in down here at the bottom of this, but obviously it already bounced and came back up really relatively quickly before I could enter. That was the other day. And so what we have here is this downward trending support that it was holding on before it fell off this cliff here all the way down and bounced back up, which I think we're coming back up to. So let's go to the live. Let's go to the actual chart. Well, I don't know what happened to Phemex. It was just glitched on me there. And we are almost back up to that level. This is what I posted was this right here. This is where it was. And now it's up here where I pointed the arrow to. It's getting there. Okay. I think it was right about here when I shared that. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a possible an apex, first of all. Always bring that, just bringing that forward. And we're coming up and it looks like we might have already, yep, we hit it as resistance and we're winding into the apex here. This is XRP on the 10-minute time frame. I can get rid of this. This was the first downward trending resistance that I said it needed to break above first in order for us to be out of the woods. And this is where we broke out here. Get rid of that now. We don't need it. I am long on XRP here. That is, let's see, 249. This is this XRP open position. I have two of them. That's this one right here. This one, I got in a little sooner down here. Could move my stop loss into profit on this one. So depending on where you entered, guys, I'm moving my stop loss on XRP to $2.45 on that one. And let's see what else we got here. Litecoin. I gave a Litecoin signal for the first time in a long time. And we are up in profit on that one as well. We did break the downward trending resistance and hold as support here, and then we pumped up, or looks like it might be doing a similar consolidation over here. Litecoin does have some potential, guys, to do similar to Ethereum. Definitely not XRP, not similar to that, but I would think, Litecoin could see some parabolic moves to the upside as well. Let's just look at where it came from here on this big drop. I mean, Litecoin was up here at $135. We're sub 100 right now, so I think we got a little bit of ways to go. That was a crazy drop from Litecoin up here. So I think we're on our way back up to those levels. I'm going to draw very similar looking downward trending support here. I think we're going to break this to the upside. And I am going to move my stop loss here also into profit right underneath that wick at 94.53. And let's see, we got another XRP down here. We got Bitcoin, USDT. My stop loss is far away at the moment. I'm going to move that up. Also, I'm not going to put that into profit yet. I'm just going to move it to 112.9 below this upward trending resistance line here because we could bounce on that again. It could come down and hit that. I'm not so sure if, let me just pull this out and see. This might have been the bounce right there. Yeah, that looks more in line. And then let me just zoom out and show you what that is. This is that yellow line there is the overall upward trending resistance that we got below, got above, got below, and then got back above. And we're bouncing on it as support. So I have a feeling we're going to be coming back up. And I would say that this would be the falling wedge or the falling trend line here that we were in before the big drop. And if I just bring that all the way to this line right here, I don't think we have far to go to get back into that or get back above that. So we have a cup and handle forming right here. Nice cup with and that would just bring us back. Whoops, that would just bring us back up into that channel right here. I think that that's pretty because we broke here and we had a couple small candles here before the big $20,000 drop. So we're right back up to where that big drop started. So that's the cup, that's the handle. And we're looking at somewhere back above this. This would be the bullish flag on the handle. Waiting for a breakout. Breakout imminent. And let's just do it from here also. That would be the pole of the bull flag, and that would bring us right about to the top of that channel.
Hey, Niko, I have two quick questions. One, the cup and handle, is that just a U-shaped movement and then consolidation? And then the second question was, when you moved your stop loss, that was not off of a percentage, that was just off of where you saw the line move.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it under the support, this upward trending support line. As far as where that is, as far as percentage wise, let me go and look here. BTC USDT. I'll just click on the little pencil down here. That is now at 6%, 6.39% below my entry. But specifically, it is at 112,912, 112,912. And that's just for now. Once we break above this bullish flag here, this cup and handle, the cup and handle is a very well-known pattern, bullish. If it's right side up like this, if it's a cup and handle like this, they tend to break to the upside equal to the depth of the cup. If it's an inverted cup and handle, meaning upside down, it breaks to the downside equal to the depth of the cup. Usually 70, I would say plus 70+% of the time. Depends on if it's up against resistance or support. So this big liquidation event that happened here, guys, that was the biggest, that was a $20,000 candle. I think that was the biggest in Bitcoin's history. Now, we've had 30% drops before, but not in one candle. That was huge. And I think that was just a good shaking off the dead leaves, getting rid of the, liquidating all the trades for the big run up. I'm hoping, right, that that was the clearing of the just legal thievery. Take as much of the crypto back as you can before dump it all the way back down to 10, you know, for XRP all the way down to $1.10 or whatever it was. It was a ridiculously low amount, $1.20, something like that. Let's go look.
$1.18 it went down to. I didn't expect it to go that low.
No. Yep, right here, guys. A dollar. I mean, here it says $1.24, but if I go to the XRP coin XRP chart, no, it says $1.25 here, but I think that depending on what exchange you look at, but still crazy, crazy, crazy low. Never would have expected that either. And as you can see, we are coming right up into the apex of the upward trending support and this overall downward trending support that it held on before it fell. And so we got a breakout imminent, in my opinion. I am already long. As far as stop losses go, on this one, I could move my stop loss into profit, and I think I will do that right here because I'm going to move that to $2.51 in profit. The reason why is because if it does fall to that, it already broke the upward trending support. I could move it right under this wick right here, but I'm going to wait and see. As soon as I see it pop above this, it is Monday. We are going into the new week. If I see it pop above this, back above that, which is where it was before this big drop. Now, also, anybody else notice any other patterns here?
Head and shoulders, possibly.
I see.
Bull flag.
You could say that could be a head and shoulders, but I'm looking at a big W here.
Big W. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if we look at this, depending on where you're looking at it from, even if we take it to here, it would actually be probably all the way up to here. But even if I take it to this wick right there, down to the bottom, we're looking at a breakout to the upside somewhere up in this range, which would put us back up to 289. Still not huge for XRP, but we need to get back up to these levels, and that would be a nice pump back up to that level. I mean, this is coming right. Look at this. You can't even make this up, guys. I mean, look at this. We had a falling wedge, which is bullish. They tend to break to the upside. Falling wedge. And they tend to also, when they do break to the upside, they tend to break to the upside equal to the rise before the falling wedge. Which would bring us right back up to this level. But we fell instead because of the announcements Trump made in regards to China tariffs. And there could obviously be some major manipulation there because there were huge short signals that got into place right before that announcement. So somebody knew that it was about to happen, and they took advantage of it to the tune of 80 million, I believe they made on that trade. Who knows who that was? Perhaps it was Trump Jr. I don't know.
They're short again. They're short a bigger amount with a liquidation price at 130,000. With a bigger set of contracts.
Same wallets?
Pretty sure.
Wow.
Yep.
So yeah, now that's just what they made. The total amount of liquidation from the market was in the 280 to 300 billion dollar range. Those are just retail traders getting liquidated. So that's the kind of shit you can't predict, guys. So you have to have stop losses in play to protect you from that. So I think that, is it possible that we come up here and hit the level that we fell from and not get through it and just fall back down for a double bottom even lower again one more time? Yes, it actually is possible. In fact, I wouldn't say it's unusual to have a big drop and then not double bottom, but it does happen a lot where we double bottom. But this is unusual. So this may not be a double bottom event. This might just be one of those liquidation events that just recovers and takes off from here already already liquidating hundreds of millions of dollars out of the market, billions of dollars out of the market. Neil, need to fill in that long wick down still.
I mean, it doesn't need to.
No.
It is an imbalance, but it doesn't have to fill it in. That's the thing about long wicks and imbalance. Sometimes they're just running down, picking up the liquidity to go the other way for a long time.
Yeah. Let me.
I mean, there's one that failed right there. You can see how that one did, but look how much time it took.
Yeah. Let me go to Bitcoin.
The odds are not as good as a fair value gap, but it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a ways to go to hit the bottom of this upward trending support on Bitcoin. But if it does hit that, guys, we're down in the 80, 90,000 range. And it did bounce quite a bit from here, as you can see. And it is coming back up and retesting this overall upward trending resistance that goes all the way back to 2021. We hit it again, hit it again, hit it again. 108, 109, 112, broke through it, 123, retested it, 124, came back below it, went above it, held the support, fell back below it, went all the way up to 126, and then dropped all the way down to 102 or 101.5, and then bounced all the way back up to that line again. So yeah, we're above the 112, which is good. And we're hitting that resistance right now. I would say that if we get above that resistance, which is imminent, probably at the 115, 155, and we hold, then we're going to see a new test of the all-time high again. We do have some liquidity above us up here in the 115, 116, even 116.5 range. And then we also have some below us back down here, all the way down to, let's say, 113. If we did pull back to 113, I wouldn't be really surprised, but that would be right in this level right here. We would stay above the 112. And it would make sense, actually, after coming all the way back up and hitting that resistance, that we have a little bit of a pullback. And that looks kind of like this. So let me just go back to a lower time frame and show you as a potential cup and handle. We have another issue that I just saw, but let's just look at this as a cup for now. And handle and bullish flag, which is usually what the handles are on cup and handles. You know, I'm gonna be rather expecting or hoping for breakout to the upside here, bringing us back up to 120 on Bitcoin. And if you'll notice, that will bring us right back up to this level up here before the big drop right there. But then there is this other thing. We had a similar cup down here that broke up, but we also have this giant possible inverted cup and handle here. Which might have already played out, but I think that might have. Interesting. That would bring us, that would be a perfect double bottom if that played out. But not really feeling that happening. I'm seeing more of a upward trending support here. Upward trending resistance here. So I think we need to get above 115, 115.5 and hold. And it does seem to be, well, I mean, think about it, guys. We came up $14,500 just in the last, just over the weekend. 14,000. I mean, that is a 13% recovery from a 17-18% drop in Bitcoin. So we're a majority of the way back. I think we're going to come up to this line in the coming days. Personally, just because a whale went short doesn't mean they're going to, that they know what they're doing. Because we've seen many times whales lose millions.
I mean, he could have just been preparing for Trump to speak.
Could be a separate whale just saying, oh, this is going to do it again. Just because someone has.
Did you, I know sometimes you do talk about the stock market. Was anybody saying anything, you know, I know you follow it probably a little closer than I do sometimes. Were they saying anything about the drop before it happened there?
Yes. I said it before it happened. If you go look at my call that we had before the big drop, that same day, that morning, I think it was Friday when this happened, right?
Yeah.
I said the stock market could drop down to 3,500 any minute.
Yeah, Niko,
'cause, like,
Niko
what-
called it. Niko called it. Chad called it. I called it. John Larson called it. I just typed this up in the conspiracies because, I mean, I get it. A lot of people lost money, but some of us who were prepared made money. This is crypto. They do this all the time, right?
Yeah,
I preach constantly low limit longs, deep stops, low or no liquidations, low bets, so you can afford to go down a couple times if you had to, and being prepared. Like, I made money. I posted 4 trades in members' ideas. The only one that got liquidated was XRP. I made money. You know, so
yeah, I made money
there
too.
was
It
lots
wasn't-
there's lots of warning. I mean, we were talking about it for a week before it happened. You know,
No, and I think I guess what I saw was like where somebody was saying it was actually like only 7 companies in the S&P 500 that were like actually growing, and all the rest of them were pretty flatlined. So somebody was saying, yeah, it's going to happen.
right? I mean, we've been talking about it since the rate drop anyway, because after the rate drop, we follow that with a drop on the stock market almost every time. You know, so I mean, guys, we've been talking about it. We have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have anything that all my stops were, you know, in place, and then I had a few shorts.
Yeah.
I just got nervous and closed them too soon because it was going nuts.
Yeah, I was in a hedge, so I had a short and a long at the same time on Bitcoin. As you can see here, I had long and short at the same time, and my long got stopped out, but my short, I think I was up about 9,000 when it hit the bottom at 101.5, but I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't notice it until it got all the way back up to 110.
Yeah, because it happened fast.
It happened too fast. So by the time I noticed it, I was only up like 2,200. So I lost, I mean, I didn't lose because you don't lose anything you didn't have, but unrealized gain of almost 10 grand on that drop that had I been, I would have never expected that to happen. So therefore I wasn't watching. I was just waiting for the weekend to be over for it to come back
Yeah.
up. So
Like 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
yeah.
October effect.
Yeah. And I was, at a gas station getting a battery put in my car. Chad texted me, holy shit, what the F? And I didn't even know what he was talking about. And then I went and looked at the chart and I was like, what? 101? How is that possible? I can't say that it's never happened before, guys, because I can, they make it sound like, oh, this has never happened again. Oh, yeah, it has. I mean, not that 20,001 candle, but if I go over here and show you percentage wise, it's happened many times.
Marlon says with Binance, some of the stop losses didn't work. They're working with some customers to reimburse them. So here's the thing that happened with stop losses on Phemex. When you put in a stop loss on the very front page within the order box it always defaults to mark price, which is what it should default to, because liquidations are based on mark price, which is the average of the top 5 exchanges. They use that to help us in the event that something like this happens so we don't get screwed. But if you go to the pencil below the chart and you enter your stop loss there, it defaults to last price. So some folks in the group had stops in profit, and because of the sudden drop, the sudden lack of liquidity, those stops in profit, they still ended up getting liquidated because they were set to last price. So everyone should be mindful going forward. If you're setting up a stop loss, just make sure it says mark. And I'm going to reach out to Phemex support and complain about it, because I think that they should default to mark everywhere, not have it different in different places. That's very confusing for traders. Mark price.
I've had my stop loss not been, I'm in mark price, but I've been having it not work. It's been like hit and miss. Sometimes they'll work, sometimes they don't.
Man, that's crazy.
And I've reached out to them too, and I'm sending them screenshots and stuff.
Right on. I was in mark as well.
Yeah, I did share on the live call the other day a screenshot from our representative at Phemex saying, "Hello, team. During the flash crash, while liquidity was a market-wide issue, Phemex's connectivity and matching engine performed well. I hope everything went smoothly on your end. I saw the Facebook chat. Thanks for also explaining liquidation and Black Friday to the users." They said Black Friday as if that had something to do with it. But if anyone is still experiencing issues, please advise them to reach out via chat, live chat support, type the word human. That means, for those of you who don't know, on Phemex, you come up here to the little question mark in the upper right corner, hit support, and this chat box will come up, and just type the word human, and then they will get you a live rep to connect directly. You can either provide your UID, which is your up here, your UID number, and detailed description of the issue and supporting screenshots if possible. This will help ensure faster assistance. Thank you. Happy weekend. So they did reach out to me to advise you guys if you had any issues during that time or anything that you think is unusual or shouldn't have happened, let them know.
There's one member in the group. He's DM'd you. His name's Gary. You want to check your DMs for Gary, and because they did not want to help him, and they probably should.
Gary, Niko, okay. My entire account was liquidated.
He had stops in profit.
It's kind of hard for me to reach out to him too much because I had a stop that got hit. I had a short, and it didn't. You can see that it wasn't triggered. It's deactivated or whatever. How you can see in the logbook or whatever, but I ended up making 1,100 off of it, off of that one. So I don't want to complain about the smaller ones of different trades. You know what I mean? That that I lost a little bit on.
Is Gary on this call?
He was. I think he dropped off. Bots. They were asking, how can every crypto went down at the same? Because guys, I say this, it's either the onboarding, the basic call. More than 70% of the markets are handled by BlackRock supercomputer. More than 70 to 80. It's between 70 and 80% of all the money in all the markets. In any market, gold, doesn't matter the market, is managed by BlackRock supercomputer called Aladdin. And there are many other smaller hedge funds that can rent Aladdin, right? So the number is probably even higher. So once one thing drops and everything drops at the same time, you can universally blame it on BlackRock.
I have a comment on that.
Yes.
Please.
Bill, the securities that were not on any exchanges did not suffer that hellish wick down. And I think it's because of the programmatic trading, exactly what you're mentioning.
Yeah. In liquidity,
So-
there's not as much liquidity. I mean, there's way more money in the stock market, right, than there is on the crypto exchanges.
Right.
So the total market is one thing, but then all these exchanges have their own liquidities. It's very easy to manipulate. It just is, you know.
Well, at least we know that Barron Jr. or Barron Trump is the richest 19-year-old in the world.
Well,
Kind of coincidence, right?
no, there's no coincidences. We live on a farm, right? There's a system that they use to milk the chattel. You got to learn how to play the system. That's the thing. You know, there was money to be made that day, I promise. There was.
Oh yeah, the people who got liquidated are all the people that were in longs with no stop losses. Now, there's some people that'll say I had a stop loss and still got liquidated. And I have personally not seen a gap over on Phemex yet, but is it possible? Sure, I guess it is. I was gapped over before in the stock market and the Forex market before, when you stay in a trade over the weekend when the market's closed. But crypto doesn't close. The crypto market doesn't close. And so very rarely do we see a gap over.
I saw a couple. There were a couple. I was in a couple trades that got gapped over.
Yeah.
I was surprised because it doesn't ever happen.
It hardly ever. I've never had it happen to me on Phemex, but so as far as Gary's concerned, if he's on this call, if not, I did respond to him and I will reach out to them, but I don't know if he says he had a stop loss, but on his screenshots, it doesn't show one. So I'm not sure if those are his screenshots or the screenshots they sent him. So I will look into it. Gary, I see he's asking questions on this, but I don't know if he's on there. It says, I do not understand how all at once all coins drop at the same time. Chris responds, bots. The answer is yes, bots. There are computers, guys, that do the trading for the big institutions, and whenever one drops, they short them all, vice versa. So it's not individual people all getting out because Bitcoin dropped and everyone in every other crypto is getting out. You know, it's computers. So we're playing a game against intelligence beyond ours. Okay. Now that doesn't mean you can't win. Okay. I always look at it like this. The whales and the people in the know and the big platforms and the big exchanges, they're like whales. Let's just call them whales. And you are either brine, which if you know what brine is, that's tiny shrimps with the whales eat. You ever see a whale come up out of the water with his mouth wide open on those videos, and they're basically engulfing all the brine and all the shrimp, all this tiny shrimp, not the kind of shrimp you eat at the cocktail party, tiny brine, millions of them. And then if you look closely, there's a sucker fish stuck on the side of the whale's head, 3 or 4 of them, 5 of them riding along with them. Same with sharks. That's us. When you get smart enough to ride with the whale and get the crumbs left over from the whale or eat off the whale, you don't need to get eaten by the whale. So now the majority of the people, the majority of the retail traders out there are the brine. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything. They're just going long, going short. They have no rhyme or reason. They don't understand what they're seeing when they look at the charts, and they are basically getting liquidated and eaten alive. Now, some of us are getting liquidated too, obviously. But in order to avoid that, generally speaking, first of all, what you just saw happen is an anomaly. That very rarely happens. I can go back and show you throughout history of Bitcoin, maybe 3 or 4 times when I've seen big week-long candles that went down 60, 70% in one week. But you usually have time to get out of that or see that. When you see one candle in one, like I don't know, that was an hourly candle that wicked down 20,000 and back up. That doesn't ever happen, guys. So how can you prepare for something that hardly ever happens? The only way I know of is to just be, first of all, don't risk too much on any given trade, no matter how much you have in your account. Always risk an amount that you can afford to lose. Unfortunately for Gary, I saw his email. I'm not going to talk about how much he said he lost, but it was a lot. And maybe not to some people, but to other people's, it was a lot. Okay. And if you lose that much, now you're either you're risking your entire account balance, or you are on cross leverage, or you have no stop loss and you get liquidated, and you were long with a huge amount of money in a position maybe you shouldn't have been long with that much money. I don't know. I don't tell people how much to trade with. I give signals, and I was long, but my stop losses were very tight. Some people get mad at me and say, Niko, I take your trade and I got stopped out. And then I look and see that you re-entered. Yeah, I got stopped out too, and I re-entered. And if I gave a signal to get out, I got stopped out, guys, and I'm not getting back in, then I wouldn't get back in. But if I'm still in the trade and you see that my stop loss must have gotten hit too, like yours, then it's probably because I re-entered. Now, sometimes I'm doing that on the fly while I'm driving or at a grocery store. I see that I got stopped out and I think the trade is still going to do what I wanted to do. And I just re-enter. And I don't always say that in the chat. I mean, I don't always say that in the signal channel that I re-entered. But, and I apologize for that. And I always try to make sure that I always let you know everything that I'm doing. But now that was before. Now I'm posting actual screenshots of my open position so you can see what I'm still in. And the exact entry and the stop loss and the take profit and everything right on that screenshot. But if you don't have a stop loss, my point that I was getting at, guys, is that you are risking your entire margin on that trade if you don't have a stop loss. And so I never, ever have ever recommended that. Not once ever in the history of this group have I ever said take a trade or take a signal without a stop loss. Never would I do that. I've always said make sure you use a stop loss. And then when it does get slightly in profit, like I just showed you here on this call, I move my stop losses into profit. Even now, if I get stopped out now in profit, at least I don't risk anything on that trade. So it's a no risk trade. I'm in it, and I have all the potential of the upside and none of the downside risk once you do that. So, you know, and the more money you have and the more money you trade with and the more bigger your account gets, the less risk you should be taking, not the more, the less risk. Warren Buffett is happy with 20% per year. We're not happy with 20% in a day over here at Crypto Renegades. But Warren Buffett's happy with 20% in a year. Why? Because he's got, you know, $80 billion in that fund. And what's 20% of $80 billion? He's happy with nice, steady gains in the billions because you get conservative the more money you have. You get more hold to your vest, don't risk much. Capital preservation is just as important as making new profits. You want to keep the money you already have. So I feel bad for anybody who lost anything on that. If it was a signal of mine that you lost it on, I would feel even worse. But when it's beyond my control, I got stopped out on my longs, and I just happened to be hedged with a short. I still would have not expected that to ever drop that much. And so that was a freak of nature move that just happened out of the blue. And so we all either, you know, brush ourselves off. It's like getting kicked by a horse. You're having a great time. You're at the party and someone's talking to you and you have your back face to the back of a horse, and the horse kicks you out of the way. Okay. It sucks. It can also be devastating, but you got to get up, brush yourself off, and just don't stay behind a horse anymore.
Could we agree that at some point again, there'll be another shakeout?
I can guarantee you there will be.
Guaranteed.
Yes.
Prepare for it next time.
Yes, guaranteed. But the problem is, it's like I live in Florida, guys, and I live near the water on the west coast of Florida, and I can guarantee you there will be another hurricane someday. But the difference is here is we can see them coming a week in advance, and so we don't stress too much, you know. And if we think they're going to hit us, we can evacuate and go to higher ground and get into a safe building. California, people build multi-million-dollar houses on mountains. In dry desert areas, and they get wildfires and they get earthquakes that can just crumble them any moment, and they still do it because the odds of it happening are, you know, not that often, right? And so they live with it. And so the thing is here, guys, is there is something that can happen. A devastating event can happen and take us out. That's why you don't want to be in any huge catastrophic loss events. How can you can be long, you can be short when it happens. But if you're in a situation where you can lose everything, you're either over risking or you don't have stop loss in place. If you have 25,000 in your account, you shouldn't be risking more than 10% of that on any given trade, in my opinion. So that's only $2,500. So the most, you shouldn't be losing 25 grand. You can lose 2,500. That would suck still, but it's better than 25 grand. Now, if you're on cross leverage and you don't have a stop loss, you can lose everything in your account. That's why I don't trade on cross, but you do have to trade on cross on some of these cryptos. Bill and Chad trade on cross often, but they also warn you on how to do it. You need to learn how to do it and what you're doing first before you do it. Another thing I see here is, I always used to tell the old story about a child or a kid touching the stove and getting burned in the kitchen. And you can tell them all day long not to touch the stove. Don't touch the stove. Get away from the stove. Stay clear from the stove. But the kid is not going to ever really learn why they're not supposed to touch the stove unless they get burned. Then you'll know. And so sometimes, unfortunately, you have to get burned in order to really learn the lesson, because I can tell you to watch out I could tell you that be careful living in California. There could be earthquakes. I could tell you that all day long, but if you love California, you're going to do it anyway. I can tell you don't live by the water in Florida all day long, but it's beautiful. And you can go boating every day and take your jet ski, and you might not see a hurricane for 30 years. You're going to do it anyway. But when it happens, don't get mad because you're taking the risk. And it still can happen. There is no safe place, guys. You can live in beautiful high ground in Utah or Colorado and some devastation. I mean, look what happened in North Carolina when that hurricane hit Florida. They got flooded on the top of a mountain. Didn't even make sense. Could have been weather modification, could be all government conspiracy stuff, could have been anything. But the reality is that it can happen anywhere. So with that being said, I'm not trying to play coy, but make light of it. It's just that no matter whether times are good or bad, whether we're in a bull market or bear market, no matter what, you should never be over leveraged and over risking everything that you have for some big potential move to the upside. If we go back and look at my signals prior to that happening and look at this, the trades that I were in, I'll just show you me. I mean, you don't have to copy me, but if we just, I'm sorry guys, I thought I was sharing my screen. Let me just go back over here. That was the 10th, right? What day was that? Friday? Yeah, it was the 10th.
It was Friday.
So here was my three trades. Oh no, that wasn't that day. It was the 10th, but it was before that. Yeah, this is when it happened on the 10th at 5 p.m. Of course, I entered long positions after that right away, but stop loss, look at this. Entry 110,900, stop loss 110,500. No take profit target, because that doesn't matter at this point. We wanted to just go up way high, but the stop loss was right under my entry, just in case we turned back and got a double bottom. XRP, enter $2.30, stop loss $2.20. ETH, 3,900 entry, stop loss 37.45. And if you just look at the open positions after that, I was long and short there. That was kind of before it happened. Then right here, after going long again, after that happened, not risking that much. I had 20,000 contracts here, but I'm at 16x leverage, so I was risking $1,600 on that. Had a stop loss at 110. This one had a stop loss at $2.36. This one had a stop loss on Litecoin, had a stop loss at $90. This one had a stop loss at 230 from my entry. So, please, guys, I don't care how good you are or how confident you are, you should have a stop loss, and it should not be close to your liquidation. It should be closer to your entry. Now, with all that being said, this is where we are. If we look at the previous bull markets, 2013 got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. 2017, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And here we are, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. We are in phase 4. Phase 4 has always hit the 1.6 on the Fibonacci. So far, in the history of Bitcoin, we've made it to the 1.6 on the Fib from the bear market bottom. Bear market bottom, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, And we even made it to phase 5, the 2.36. And in 2017, after the bear market bottom, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, we made it to phase 4 and the top of phase 5. 2021, after the bear market bottom, we were in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, made it to the top of phase 4, which is the 1.6 on the fib, and we did not make it to phase 5. This is the only time we never made it into phase 5. And I say there's a couple reasons. We had COVID. It was a very weird time going on back then. The economy kind of shut down. No one was worried about their crypto. Everybody was worried about 6 feet separation and viruses and all kinds of nonsense. In hindsight, nonsense. And even during that time seemed like nonsense. But also we had the FTX collapse and scandal where millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions was basically ripped off from Sam Bankman-Fried and the FTX exchange scandal, which we did dip down and came back up and double topped at 69. But when that happened, it kind of put us into a bear market. So we never went to phase, but we did make the 1.6. So far, every bull market, we hit the 1.6. And then we come into a bear market, and that's this most recent one, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. And we are halfway above. We're up here closer to the top of phase 4. 1.6, if we hit it, is 170K for Bitcoin. If we get through that and get to the 2.36, that's 555,000 for Bitcoin. Is it possible that we get all the way up to the top of phase 5 like we did? Well, we did it in 2013. We did it in 2017. So that's 66% of the time. 33% of the time, we did not. But on the 1.6, we did that 100% of the time so far. So based on history, it's every single time so far, we hit the 1.6. So I'm going to say, yes, we can certainly hit that. But because we didn't do it every single time to the 2.36, it's possible that we don't get to that. Now, is it also possible that we hit the 2.36 here, we hit the 2.36 here, we hit the 1.6 here, and then here we don't hit the 1.6 because we're getting lower and lower highs, or what do they call it? Depreciating returns. It's possible, but it's very unlikely because we went into phase 4 and then we came down and already retested the bottom or the top of phase 3 and bounced and made a higher high. So I think we're on our way to the top of phase 4. And we have 2 months and 20 days left to make that happen. And oh, one more thing. And usually, guys, when that does happen, it's usually after a huge dump like this. Usually recovery is parabolic. Go ahead.
Is it possible for you to take a look at the Ethereum chart? And also curious, last week you looked at their, was it that market cipher signals? I was kind of curious if it correlated with like what happened, over the weekend, etc.
Okay, yeah, good idea. So here is ETH, and ETH was hitting resistance. We broke above this downward trending resistance, and we came up to here, and then we hit the top again, and we came down to the bottom here, and then very interesting. I mean, look at this. I would have not had that there. It hit here, bounced. We got out of it here and retested and climbed up, and then just fell right through it and came back up, and now we went back above this green line, back above this yellow line, back above this grayed out resistance zone, and we're holding a support. So I would say that I am going to probably now, let me go down to the 1 hour and see what it looks like. I'm going to, it's a little premature, but I think I'm going to go long on Ethereum right now. And yes, I will put my Litecoin, and I'm going to, let me just end my new Ethereum trade here. Let me just go down and ETH. Let me just I'm going to put a stop loss right here. Right now, I'm just going to slide it to 15% just to get it on the board. That's too close. Let me just zoom in and see where that's at. Yeah, that's good enough. It's right under this line. Let me just put it down a little bit. So my stop loss on the ETH is 4,075. We did wick down here and bounce back above this line. It does also look like a potential, I'd say bull flag, but let me just draw this. Nice looking bull flag, if you ask me. Break to the upside, putting us back up into this realm above that line. Litecoin, am I still in Litecoin? Yeah, Litecoin. Let me just go ahead and take a screenshot of this all of these open positions. Up $1,136 on all of them together. Very small amounts on each because they really haven't moved much since I've entered. But this in.
Are you recording this?
Always. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was one time when I didn't in 4 years. Yes, recording. Let's just post that for now, which includes all of them. Let me get rid of, let me just go over here and go to my other chart. We'll go look at market cipher.
Hey Nico, do you think because of the size of the candle and it dropped so fast, I mean it's such a long big candle that some of the maybe higher time frame indicators got skewed somewhat or
No, the higher time frame, like right now I'm on the weekly, you can hardly even see that big drop.
okay.
I mean, here it is right here. Let me get rid of that. I mean, it is a big wick down. You can see it right here. But it didn't breach this overall. I mean, look at this one. There's another big one. Here's 2 weekly candles right here over 2 weeks. That happened in an hour, guys. So that's why they're saying it's the biggest drop in, one candlestick. But look at this. This one was 31,000 for Bitcoin all the way down to 17.4. That was almost a 45% drop in 2 weeks.
That was a perfect dead cat bounce. Look how much money was there. If you'd have been able to catch the bottom and catch it and ride it right to the middle, over and over and over, it does that.
Yeah. Here's another one. This one was huge too. 50%. Okay. We dropped 18% the other day. This is 50% in 2 weeks. I mean, from here over the course of a month or so. This 50%, 47%, and then 45% back to back. Yeah, I mean, if we just take that all the way down, I mean, that was a 65% drop in.
And I have a question that might seem kind of crazy, but for me it's not crazy. Is there a way, just say if I'm holding XRP and I'm also leveraging with XRP, trading it, is there any way that I can actually have one where I'm holding and then one that I'm using to leverage where I'm, trading it back and forth? And
Yeah.
when things like this happen, whatever I'm holding is not being liquidated or touched.
Yes. So if you just have money sitting in your wallet, let's just say in your futures account or your
for example, I'm just going to throw this in. There's some tokens that I may want to transfer to Phemex, but they're ones that I'm holding for XRP and those type of things. But I don't want to use that
Yeah, you didn't lose any of that on that drop. I mean, the value went down. I mean, XRP went from $2.50 down to $1.20 and back up a little bit, but so the value, it's just like your money sitting in Coinbase.
Correct.
So as long as you didn't sell those coins, you still have them, and the price could then go back up, right? So
Correct.
you don't have to worry about those. But you can also have multiple sub accounts when you're trading. So if I go back over to Phemex, all you got to do is come up here to this little drop down right here where it's like a little picture of yourself up here, this little human, and you come here to sub accounts, and you click on that, and you can see up here I got switch accounts, main account, 1, 2, 3. I have a couple sub accounts.
All right.
So you can have multiple accounts, one where you're scalping, one where you're doing longer term hold positions, and you can also, but that's if you're trading. But if you're just sitting on Bitcoin or XRP and you're not even in a trade and it's just sitting in your wallet, it's not at risk. It's just sitting there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Cool.
So yeah, you can do that. And you can also have multiple sub accounts, one where you're taking high risk trades, scalps, and the other one where you're having more long-term swing trades. And then maybe another one where you're going to go long at the bottom of the bear market and hold it for 2-3 years.
And those wouldn't be touched ever, get liquidated or nothing like that if you're not.
Well, it depends on where you put if you're in a trade and you put a stop loss or if your leverage is too high, it could, if you're in a trade. I'm talking about like those sub accounts, like you could have, let's say you put $1,000 in each sub account worth of XRP, let's just say, or just USDT. And on one, you're scalping, you're going in and out, you're taking trades, you're taking our signals. And the other one, money's just sitting in there, but you're not in any trades. Well,
Right.
the one that you're in a trade with, yeah, you run the risk of, if you have a stop loss, it could get taken out, or if you don't have a stop loss, you could get liquidated if it drops too much like this. But only when you're in open trade positions can that happen.
Okay.
If you're not in open trades and your money's just sitting there, then it's the same as just sitting on Coinbase or sitting in your cold storage wallet.
So then that one would have nothing to do with the other ones.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Not only that, guys, but like for instance, I'm in let's just look at this. This Bitcoin trade right here, I have 21,000 USDT on, but I'm only risking $1,615 of my own money. If I have $10,000 worth of USDT in my futures wallet, and I do, you can see it right here, 8,000, and I have open position. So I got a 7,100 available and 1,100 in unrealized P&L gains. So let's just say 10,000. If this trade, if I didn't have a stop loss on this trade and this trade wicked down really low and liquidated me, the most I could lose is this $1,600 here. I'm not going to lose all the money in my wallet, only what I'm risking on this margin. Okay. So you're really only ever risking your margin. Now, if I have a stop loss right here, which I do at 112.9, let's just click and see what percentage away is. That's only 6%. So if it wicks down against me, the most I could lose is 6% of my $1,600, which is only like, I don't know, what is that? 60, 70 bucks, 75, 80 bucks. Ethereum looks like it might be breaking to the upside. I am already in profit on this a little bit, 17 bucks. So if you guys took that trade, my entry was 41.61. This is a nice cup and handle over here as well, and a nice big bullish flag with a potential break out happening imminently. It is Monday. We're going into a new week after a giant collapse over the weekend. To me, it makes perfect sense that we will recover back to where we were. But where were we? We were kind of just right here. And so we are kind of back to where we were. Now it's a matter of recovering out of this. Marjorie, I checked, but they said I need exchange and things gave me the wrong price. You said something about you got stuck in the hospital. You need screenshots. You can get screenshots of your previous trades. All you got to do is go down here to open, close positions. You don't have to still be in them. You don't have to still be in them. But guys, don't file claims with Phemex if it was your fault. Don't try to get something for free. I don't, that's like losing money at blackjack at the casino and wanting a refund because you didn't know how to play. You can try, but I doubt that will work. Because trust me, they have your trade history. They'll go look and see whether you had a stop loss or not, or take, whatever the case may be.
Is open interest down maybe a little bit because it seems like prices like normally it'll move like slower, especially Bitcoin, maybe like $200-300, but it seems like it's moving in seconds now, like $200 and $300. At least to me when I'm watching on Phemex.
Yeah,
it's moving pretty fast.
It's starting to climb here at the beginning of the week. I think the fear is coming out of the market. People are starting to get back in. All right, let's look at Market Cipher, see what's going on over here. Market Cipher B. Let's go to the daily. Interestingly, before that big, there was a red dot on Market Cipher, but it was not, it was before that. It was like 1, 2, 3 days before that. So there you go, guys. I mean, you can see the wave crest right here. So if you were short there on the daily, that would have been a hell of a profit you would have got.
Could the buildup that they had right before that, because it really went high, could that have been a buildup of these whales putting money in to bring it up and then just pull it up?
I can tell you that Market Cipher probably gave the short because we hit the top of the the upward trending resistance. Boom, boom, boom. And so that's a normal short signal. But this whole drop here didn't even really show up. I mean, there was a big dip down here in liquidity, this yellow, but the blue didn't even come down below this center line like it does here. I mean, see the blue, when it happens gradually, you can see the blue come down, come down, come down, come down. This one happened so fast where it dropped right here, boom, and then wicked back up already to, halfway, 3/4 of the way back up to where it was. So, but it did give a sell signal or a short signal before it happened, but it was literally 2 days before it happened. Let's go to even a lower time frame and see what it looked like.
Jake did really well on Friday.
Look at this, guys. See, there is a red dot. Holy cow. You can see it hiding right there. I mean, there is a red dot there. But that's not this big drop. That's just where it started to drop. 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, 6 hour, and then boom. And look at that green dot right on that drop. Green dot right up to that drop. Double green dot drop. That would have been, I mean, it would have been up here by then, but that would have still been a good entry. We don't have a green dot yet on the daily for Market Cipher though. So far it has not given a buy or a green dot. So that could be a sign of things to come. Let's go down to the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, there was right after the drop. Go up to the weekly. The weekly, there's a red dot that just happened. You have some money flowing out here. Higher time frames are a little flat. And on the monthly, we did have a big red dot before that happened as well. We do have a couple green. We have on the lower time frames, guys, and the scalping time frames. We did have since this has happened, obviously, we had a lot of opportunities. So yeah, we got some green dots happening in the lower time frames right here, and some red dots, green and red. Okay, we were winding in. This is the 10-minute time frame. We do have a little bit of a resistance line happening here. We do have some, depending on where you put your lines. This could be a nice bullish flag, could be another falling wedge. So this is the stochastic RSI guys on the weekly. We did have a blue line cross the orange line to the upside. They were wide going up, and then right here, the blue line was going up, and then that's when we had the big drop, boom, back under the orange line. So right now it's still under the orange line. We got 6 days and 7 hours left on this chart for the change, but that blue line would need to get back above the orange line. We've seen that happen before, but usually not up here in the grayed out area. Trying to go back and find. I mean, there's been times when we come back up into the blue area and the blue line crosses the orange line to the downside, and then it just drops back down. But let's go look at what that price looked like when that happened. Oh yeah, we had a big drop. Look at this. One candlestick on the weekly. We come up, lower high, another drop down. That's kind of big pump up and then another drop down. I mean, look at that was back in, doesn't happen that often, where the blue line crosses the orange line to the upside after being down here in the oversold territory. And the blue line crosses above this dotted line, which is the 20 on the RSI, and then crosses back down below. But it does happen, just doesn't happen often. Happened here. And then we pumped up, happened here. After that giant drop down. By the way, that was in the bear market bottom when we broke out of a downward trend from the bull market top down. Whoops. Actually, got to do that on the RSI. So right here, this was the last bull market top. Right here, 2021, we hit 41K. We came up and hit 64.5. Then we came down and came walk up, double topped at 68K, and then went into a bear market. This is a year-long drop all the way down to 15.5. But if you look on the RSI down here, we had lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And when we finally broke out of this downward trending resistance, we pumped up right here, pumped up, and then dropped all the way down from 21K to 15.5 to retest this on the RSI. Boom, right there. You see, we broke out here and retested before going into a bull market. And that was 25% drop right there. Boom. Which is more than what we just had. And it was the beginning of a huge pump after that to the upside. So now we're not at the beginning of a bull market right now. We're actually winding into the end of one, in my opinion. But as they say, this time could be different. Where we have a super cycle and we think it's the end, and this is the beginning of a whole nother run up, which is always possible. Everything is possible. But this is the overall upward trending support all the way from the bear market bottom. And as you can see, we hit it several times and we hit the top of the previous all-time resistance line. We hit it here at 108. We double topped at 109. We hit it at 112. If I have this in the right spot. We hit it at 112, which was a higher high, 108, 109, 112, higher highs. And then we broke through it to 123, held as resistance, hit 124, came down. And this was just recently. We came all the way down to 107, bounced, went up to 126, and dropped all the way down to 101. And wicked right back above this line. So as you can see, we had some big wicks before, and we just did it again here, but we're now back above this line, which is bullish. It is good. But only a couple things can happen here, guys. We're either going to break out to the upside and have a big run up to that 170, 180 range that we just talked about, or it's going to just maybe wick up again, maybe to 130, and then come back down, and that'll be the end of the bull market. This is the weekly time frame. So so if I move my mouse to here, this is November 25th. If I move it all the way to the tip, that's December 8th. Right about here is the end of the year. Oh no, right about here. That's it. So we are in the apex, guys. This is it. This is deal or no deal. Let's make a deal. Which way is it going to go? Are we going to get higher than where we've always gotten on this upward trajectory? If I go out even further to, let me just zoom out even further, because there is a whole nother area it could go to. We do have something called the laws of diminishing returns here, which is happening. Hard to do it with this thing because this is not exactly accurate, but trying to give you a visual here where we have 1000x gains from the bottom to the top, and then we have 100, and then we have 25, and then we have 7 or 8. So every bull market from the bottom has had a lower and lower and lower and lower and lower ROI from the bottom to the top, curving like this, like the rainbow chart. So we have this curve, this overall arch happening. And so we're not going to we're not just going to break out of this, generally speaking. I don't think that maybe someday, I mean, we will be up here in the maybe $1 million plus range for Bitcoin, but so it would seem that eventually we would need to break out of this, but we don't really. I mean, look at, if I put my mouse right here in the red zone up here, it's at $2.5 million for Bitcoin. But we didn't see even in the red, we didn't even get into the red zone in the last bull market. So in this bull market, we could go up to, let's just say we do what I say and goes up to 170. That's only right here in the light green area. And then we go into a bear market. And then the next one we get up here, yeah, we would still be in this, we could still be at $2.5 million and still be inside of this overall arching channel. So it's a little slow right now. We're gonna probably wrap up the call here in about 10 minutes. Just remember, there's an onboarding at 2 o'clock with Bill, but I have like what, one, two, three, four, five, 6 open positions. I have a Bitcoin on a coin margin, Bitcoin on a USDT margin, XRP on a coin margin, XRP on a USDT margin, Ethereum on a USDT margin, and Litecoin on a USDT margin. And $600 in profit on this one, $230 on this one, $3 on this one, $77 on this one, $206 on this one, negative on this one by $95. Because that one was late to the game. Let me just click on it and show you. That was this one. I just entered right when we got to the top of this cup. But I am expecting hopefully a breakout of these guys. But I do move on all the other ones. I did move my stop losses into profit or break even. If you just enter them, you wouldn't be able to do that yet, but you should have them at least within, I would say, 10% of the entry point. And, you know, you could wait for the breakout to get above this line here. Like I said, we need to be above 115.5 on Bitcoin. And when that happens, I'm telling you, it's going to lift all other cryptos. You're going to see XRP, Ethereum, and everything else start to climb as well. When that happens, they're all in the very same looking pattern. That was Ethereum. Let's go look at XRP. They all look very similar. They're all in this very similar looking cup and handle with this hitting the top, basically hitting this exact same channel line that it was in prior to dropping out, coming back around and hitting as resistance, possibly going to break through here any minute. This one looks a little different than the Bitcoin one because it has this little W in it, but hey, it's a W. So it could bring us right back up to this area, which is above this upward trending support line, which is where we were before the big drop. We were above this line, and then we dropped, retested, and bam. So in my opinion, it's going to bring us right back above that. And then if we get above this downward trending resistance here that we were in before that happened, then yeah, we will be, I think, on our way back up to the highs. If it's going to make sense for us to run back up to new highs, guys, it definitely makes sense after a big dump like that. If this didn't happen yet, I would say we could go either way. You know, I was saying that on some calls earlier that we could either break to the upside of this this rising wedge or to the downside. If we break to the downside, you know, we could see a big dump to the downside. Of course, I was never expecting this down to $1.20, but this line is the one I had at 234. I think I mentioned that on a couple calls ago. Someone asked what would be the next resistance level below the 265, 270, and I said 234, and then because I already had this line on my chart. But and ironically, that is kind of where it just cinched right back up to, and then held. Joe, are you talking to me? Did I post these? Are you talking about Bill? Yes, I mean, I did it. If you go into the signal channel, you'll see my current open positions right here. It shows my entry, what I'm in, what my leverage is. So this is the most, for those of you who don't know, I mean, a lot of you looking for actual signals the way I used to do it, where I would just put, you know, entry, stop loss, take profit. But this shows everything. It shows my open position. It shows what leverage I'm at, what the size that I'm risking, not the size I'm risking, but the contracts, my entry price, my margin, which is the amount I'm risking, and my take profit and stop loss over here. So these are all stop losses except for that one. Marjorie, does it show if I place my stop loss after my trade? I usually open the trade without one. Yeah, if you go to close positions, it should show where your stop loss was, I believe. Did you have a stop loss? Are you saying you had a stop loss and it liquidated you? It went through your stop loss? Yeah, there's something called slippage, guys. And that's when something is happening so fast that no market order can fill your order. So in other words, when it hits your stop loss, when it goes through your stop loss, it's going so fast that it wicks all the way down to here and comes right back up. And there's no way that it could have placed that order because it happened so fast, right? So what is slippage? Slippage is, the time it takes or the price it takes between your stop loss and the time it triggers. So if something's dropping really fast, it might go through your stop loss and get triggered right here and finally close you out at 243, even though your stop loss was at 250 or 244, whatever. So a lot of people complain about that. And I'm like, well, that just depends. Slippage is something it's hard to control either. I say slippage like, imagine you're standing in your driveway and you have a tennis ball in your hand. And the goal is there's going to be a car that drives by your street with the back window rolled down, and you have to throw the tennis ball into the back window of the car. Now, if you're 20 feet away and the car's going really slow, like 1 mile an hour, it's going to be easier for you. But if the car's going really fast, like 50 miles an hour, you're going to have to throw that ball much sooner than you expect in order for it to line up with the window as it's passing you. May not be a great example, but I'm sure you get the point. It's much more difficult to hit the target when it's moving fast. And so I'm not making an excuse for them, but I can understand. And and Bill and everybody can explain it on onboarding on basics calls. Slippage. We used to use slippage when we get in these ICOs. We'd have to set our slippage. And we're basically telling the platform what amount of loss we're willing to take if it doesn't trigger where we want it. Like 10x slip, 10 slippage of 10 or slippage of 20 or slippage of 30, meaning we're willing to take 10% more of a loss if it moves too quick. As long as it closes us somewhere within 10% of our stop loss. And that's pretty damn good. That's like if you can hit the target with a bow and arrow, and the target's moving, if you can get within 10% of the bullseye, that's still pretty damn good.
Hey,
So,
Niko,
yeah.
I have a related question.
Yes, sir.
And I just got on here today. So maybe you have talked about this, but when you have something like the flash crash that happened on Friday, and say XRP dropped down to $1.50 or whatever it was. Suppose you had put in a limit order to buy at $1.70. Would you have got filled or not?
You should have. You may not have got, but if you would have got filled on the way down, so let's say this is XRP right here. Let's say it's coming down to your limit order and it fills it right here. Boom, $1.70. But it's going so fast, it comes all the way down. And now you just got liquidated.
Right.
It entered you and then liquidated you.
That happened to me because I didn't plan for a drop that deep, but I only risked 1%. So, no big loss.
Yeah.
And what if you had set a stop loss? Say, well, I'm talking about a short position, and this would be not a stop loss; it would be a TP at $1.70, let's say.
In a perfect world, you would have got triggered, but when you see this is a wick, it's not actually a candlestick.
Right.
This is the 1 hour chart. And within 1 hour, it went down $20,000 and back up very quickly Actually, I would say within minutes, this happened. And so it is possible. I guess I have seen it, and Bill can confirm that a wick like this may not trigger a limit conditional order. It is possible that happens, but this is very rare that this happens. So, so it is. So if you were in that position and you did not get triggered, is what you're saying?
Well, I wish I was, but that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect it to trigger, but if it doesn't, then I would have to look at how fast this happened, because the slippage, some platforms just cannot handle filling orders at that speed. So really, when you have a limit conditional order, it's an order. You're basically saying, hey, if the price gets to this amount, I want to buy at this price, or I want to sell at this price. Take profit target or stop loss is buying or selling at a certain price. A take profit target and a stop loss is a limit conditional order. And you're basically saying, under the condition that it gets to this price, I want to be stopped out. Under the condition it gets to this price, I want to go long. And but when it flips through it so fast and it wicks into it and comes out so fast, that's like Bruce Lee standing in front of you and say, okay, I'm gonna jab at your face. I want you to try to grab my hand before I pull it back. Most people can't do it. They're not fast enough. And so again, I'm not making excuses for the platform. I would be pissed if that happened to me. But only time I was ever gapped over and this happened to me, and I lost 50 grand, but that was in Forex, trading the British pound sterling against USD, or it was the euro against USD, and we had a big drop, and it gapped right over me, and I never traded Forex again, because that happened several times during Forex. It's never happened to me so far trading crypto, Bitcoin, but I have had people say that it has happened to them. And so the only thing I can say is that people have claimed that it has happened to them, but I did not see their exact stop losses and take profit targets. I didn't see it happen, and they really couldn't present to me showing me that it happened. So it's very hard to know whether they were just mistaken, or whether stop loss was in the wrong spot, or the TP wasn't really hit, but I believe them, because I think it can happen. And Bill said it's happened to him before. So, and Bill knows what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. If you were short in Tom's example, or if you had a limit conditional short, which I don't, that's unusual, it could have gotten filled. The winner on that one was someone who was short when that wick happened. If they had a stop loss in profit, the slippage would have worked in their favor, and they would have made more money on that wick. That's your best case scenario in that.
Yeah.
And then my limit longs got picked up low, but I didn't plan my liquidation well enough.
Yeah. And I was short, because I was in a hedge. I was in a long and a short up here. And my short went to like $10,000 profitable. But I didn't notice it until it got back up here, because I didn't have a stop loss, or I didn't have a take profit target in place, because I would have never expected this to happen. So, and then when I noticed it was back up to 110 of Bitcoin, not on Ethereum. I mean, not on XRP, but it was back up to 110. So it went all the way down to 1015 and back up to 110 before I noticed. So I went probably 9,500 positive, and then went back up to 2,000 positive. Not bad. But my long position that I was in at the same time got closed out. I got stopped out on that. And my stop loss was triggered. So I don't know. Some people's weren't, but mine was.
I mean, you could devise strategies around the expectation of a big wick down. Obviously, I mean, you could set last Friday. You could have had a limit buy order in at $1.60 or something.
I mean, that's how I trade. That's how I trade. I have limits almost all the time at low prices to pick up drops like that, because it happens.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but when it happens, you'll be happy that you did do that. And you can do that, Tom. You can set up limit conditional orders at levels that are maybe the support at the lower end of support, or a support below the next support, just in case it wicks down that far. You can certainly do that. Josh says he does it. Keith does it. Bill. And you guys remember back in the day when I used to have limit conditional orders way down here, and people are like, what is that down there? Did you enter that? I'm like, no, that's just a conditional order. I used to have them way down just in case. Back when I was thinking Bitcoin was going to come back down to 30K, I had a limit conditional order sitting there at 31K, just in case.
Yeah, it's just money in the bank.
Yeah.
Sitting there, you know what I mean? It's not earning interest, but it would earn a lot of interest all at once if it paid off.
I will tell you this, guys. If this is not the end of this, if we have another big double bottom or another drop down, which is possible, I am not going to say it's not possible. I mean, usually what this is an anomaly. It happened because of an announcement. People look out their windows. They can see it's safe to come out, and all of a sudden they start buying back in. And generally it's over, and this is not going to happen again. But if it does, if we hit this level here and we cannot get back above and we just come back down for a retest, XRP could still go to the moon because that is not dependent. That can decouple from Bitcoin, and that is not necessarily dependent on this. That can switch and go super parabolic based on a switch getting flipped, and all of a sudden the XRP ledger, the private ledger and the public ledger merge, and all of a sudden the new price for XRP is $1,000. That can happen overnight, right? But Bitcoin could go down to $20,000 while that's happening, for all I know. And if anybody says, "Oh, is it still possible?" I don't think it's possible for Bitcoin to go down to 20,000. Bitcoin can go down to 20,000. Yes, it can. I don't care.
Here's my question: If XRP can lose half of its market value in a day or two, how can you ever buy XRP? I mean, only without margin, I figure. Even if you margin it 2-to-1, you could still get liquidated. You know, if you're buying it at 250 and it goes to $1.25, you get liquidated at a 2-to-1 margin. So I think, number one, that puts a huge depressing effect on XRP because people know that this can happen. And, you know, I don't know if we ever break out of this reality where the shorts come in and wipe out the longs. I think that could continue for years. Because
I actually hope it does continue for years.
It's a
that's how we make money.
Yes.
Well,
right.
I don't know. You don't make money by it going to 100 or 1,000. Then you make money in a trading range.
Well, that's not true because I have a lot of XRP sitting in a wallet, a Web3 cold storage wallet. If it goes to $1,000, I'll have enough money to buy every one of you on this call a boat. And and that's regardless of whether I get liquidated on my trade. So
I understand, but so that means there's no leverage if you've got it in a cold storage wallet.
Well, yeah. So that's what I do with my trading profits too. I move profits out of my trading account into certain wallets. So I keep enough in here to trade with to continue to earn more money. But to be in a long position on XRP in hopes that it goes to $1,000 with leverage, that is risky because XRP can be volatile, as you can see. But this is the first time I've ever seen XRP drop 30% in 1 hour. That's the first, or 50%. That was crazy, but it did, right? But yeah, XRP, your liquidation is much closer. Bitcoin, that's why I trade normally Bitcoin, but look at that, 56% drop on XRP right there.
If I'm a market maker in this market and I know I can do that, I'm looking for a time to do it again. This is my opportunity to take out all those longs all the way down to $1.50. So we did it Friday. I'm looking to do it next week. I'm looking to do it whenever I can.
I don't think they're going to do it often because then it would become obvious that it's intentional and that's no one would trust the markets ever again. But at the same time, they can blame it on Trump's announcement. They can use that as a reason, but I also think that XRP, even if XRP does go to $1,000, right? They do realize they're not going to own all the XRP. There's going to be retail traders out there that have a lot of it, and some of us are going to get rich. And they're going to have to come to grips with that. In fact, I think they're okay with that. From what I understand, the powers that be understand that a lot of people will make a lot of money on XRP. The ones that hold it, the ones that have gold, what they call diamond hands, the ones that aren't getting shaken out of the markets. But for all the trading volume out there that just got liquidated, they do get some of that back. They just take that money back. They basically take it back into their coffers but why would they do it? That answers the next question. You say they can do it again, but why did they do it if they did it? And that is before the big pump to the upside. They want to clean house before it shoots to the moon. And are they going to do it again? Are they going to do it again before that happens? Probably. I don't believe that will happen. I don't believe we'll see another one like that for a while, because the last time I saw anything like this was back in 2021. And before that, it was like 2017, where we see, or 2018, where Elon Musk made a comment about Bitcoin. He not carrying Bitcoin anymore because he thinks it's not good for the environment to mine it. And Bitcoin dropped, 30% in one day back then, just based on his announcement. So I've seen this happen before, but generally speaking, we make a lot of money between these crazy times. It's kind of like the hurricane. You weren't on the call earlier when I was talking about. It's kind of like living in Florida. You can have a house on the water and for 30 years not have any storms, but all of a sudden get wiped out in one hurricane. You know the risk is there. You have to have insurance for it. You have to build your house up on stilts just in case the water level rises and all that stuff. But some people will go 50 years without ever seeing one, without ever being affected by one.
I asked a question about this, related question of Chad one time, and he gave me an answer that I didn't understand. Maybe he's on the call here. He could clarify. But my question was this: if they can run it down to $1.50 or whatever it was last week, why can't they run it down to 25 cents? Why can't they run it down to 2 cents? What's stopping them? And his answer was, and this is what I don't understand. He said, well, it's got to balance. Things have got to balance. I don't know what has to balance exactly. If things have to balance, then my conclusion is they were in balance last week when it went to $1.50. So what is that?
What if I told you that XRP is not worth $2.59, but it's actually currently worth $37,500 per XRP? What if I told you that that was the actual price on the private ledger? Would you believe that? And all of this retail trading that we're doing to try to accumulate, they're going to have to merge the private and the public ledger together at one point, which will balance out the price at a much higher price, maybe even $10,000 per XRP.
Okay, well, that's one kind of balance, but I don't think that's the kind of balance that Chad was referring to. My question, why can't they run it down to 10 cents? Why can't they have
the market makers have a job to do. They're told by the head bank, I don't know if it's the IMF, but these are the price. This is the price we need it to be at the end of the week. You can get it there however you want to get it there, and then they do. That's my understanding of how the markets work. There is someone somewhere that says where the prices should be, and that's either the IMF or one of the bigger banks, and then that's what happens. They run it where it's supposed to be, and they can either do it over the course of a few days, or they can do it all at once.
So
and then they'll have Trump say something stupid, and it's that way they can blame it on him. There always has to be a scapegoat.
But with that being said, Tom, this is the way it's always been in the stock market. Always, it's always been this way. There's always the market makers. There's always the people that are pumping and dumping. If they want to make $1 billion in one day, they can short the, British pound sterling against the US dollar. George Soros did that back in the 80s, you might remember, and made $1 billion in one day. So
I don't want to get too far off the track here. I know you.
No, it's okay. It's a good question, but I don't have all the answers to that. I don't know what power that they have. I do know.
Well, here's what I think has to happen. Do you remember a few years ago the GameStop fiasco, where what happened was all the hedge funds were shorting GameStop, and the retail traders ganged up like on one day or 1 week, and they bought. And they caused a short squeeze that literally drove a few hedge funds out of business. They got burned so bad on the short squeeze. I think, that sort of thing could and should happen with XRP. If the market makers are so powerful as to wipe out half of its market value in an hour, think of what a short squeeze would look like. It would kill a lot of people.
There's 500 billion tokens. How many of them are actually out? And it's not anywhere near the same. The number of shares of GameStop compared to the amount of Ripple that's out there is.
Yeah, the amount of actual tokens available, Tom, are that people actually own in retail market is very small. Like someone might have 100,000 XRP, someone might have 50,000, someone might have 10,000. The amount of people that have 10,000 XRP or more is like a handful of wallets. It's like a small amount of people. So
I think what's relevant is not the number of holders. It's the market value of what they hold. If retail owns half of the total market capitalization of XRP, they could do tremendous damage in the form of a short squeeze.
They could,
but it's not about how many people are involved. It's about dollars.
Yeah. the powers that be, XRP was started around 2013, not long after Bitcoin. And it should be like, if it didn't have any restrictions or regulations with the SEC, it should have been climbing along with Bitcoin over the last, decade. And it was restricted. It was restricted intentionally, probably because of all the things that they were working on with the Lightning. The people that created Bitcoin or XRP might be the same people that created Bitcoin, and that might have been Bitcoin 2.0 for all I know. Satoshi Nakamoto might just be the corner of two streets, the corner of Satoshi and Nakamoto Boulevard. And that was the house they were in when they created it, for all I know. My point is that there's a lot we don't know, but at the same time, the powers or the planets that have to align for XRP to be $500 or $1,000 per XRP is all in the works. Like the things that they're trying to put together right now, they've been putting together for years, and they were waiting for these restrictions to be lifted. And now that they're about to do it, now would be the time to go ahead and do a big clean sweep of the market, liquidate everybody, get as much back as they can in the retail space, as much XRP as possible before we go up to $20, $30, $50, $100 per XRP. And I would think that and they know that some people are going to get super rich. There's some people that have 100,000 XRP, and at $1,000, that's 100 million bucks, right? There's a lot of people out there that, if you have 100,000 XRP and it goes to $1,000, you're super rich. Okay. And that's just going to be, this is the only time I've ever seen in my lifetime that the average person can front run the institutions. Now, some people are saying, yeah, but they have two ledgers. They have a private ledger and a public ledger, and the private ledger is never going to, the people in the private ledger is, they're going to stay down at $3, and they're going to do all that business that you're talking about with all the exchanges and all the governments and all the banks on the private ledger. And that is where Gerling House and all the other experts are saying that is not going to be the case. They will have to merge both of the leverage because they will need all the XRP in order to be able to transact trillions of dollars in transactions on a daily basis. And in order for them to handle the amount of transactions on a daily basis, as XRP is the clearinghouse or Ripple is the clearinghouse, XRP would have to be over $1,000 per XRP. Now, whether that happens or not, whether that's all just hype in the market that we're all hoping to happen, that has yet to be seen, right? Because we haven't seen it go up that high. But
I've been day trading XRP pretty actively for a couple of weeks now, more than that, and longer than that. And what I observe is it trades in a range. It rises up to the point where a lot of people are lured in with long positions, and then the market makers wipe them out. And this happens over and over again. And there's this kind of upward force among the buyers because they have some hope of seeing it go to 100 or $1,000. So they'll pay a lot more than they should per unit for XRP. And as a result, you got all these very vulnerable leveraged longs, and they get wiped out. And I think the cumulative effect of this over maybe the past year or longer is a depressive effect on the price of XRP. And if this hadn't been the case, it would already be at $6 or $8 or $10. But what you have is this perpetual depressive effect, and that's why it's below.
Don't invest in anything you're not willing to lose.
Yeah. Well, that Joe and Tom, it's you do that long enough and people give up, people quit, people sell, and they don't sit on their bags anymore, and then all of a sudden, boom, transfer of wealth, bam, price shoots up. And that's what happens too over time. And then the people who sit on it, the people who never sold, the diamond hands, eventually will be the ones laughing. But that happened to Bitcoin too. People were saying, oh, you're going to go down to $10,000, and it went down to, it was at 20,000 at the time in the last bull market. People did not want to buy until it got to 10 grand. Yes, it's going to 10 grand, and it never did. It went to 15.5 and bounced, and that was it. It never went back down. I would say that buying XRP right now is like buying Bitcoin somewhere around the $13, $15 range. And at $3, it might seem overpriced considering it could be $1.10 in an instant, but will that happen again ever? I don't know. Will it ever go down that low again? I don't know. But if it does get to $10 or $20 or $50, you're going to wish you bought more at $3 or $4. And if it gets to $1,000, you're going to wish you bought more at $20 or $50, just like we all wish we did with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin has a finite supply where XRP doesn't, but Bitcoin will never be used for the amount of transactions that XRP will be used for. XRP could go to $1,000 and Bitcoin could go back down to 20,000. If Bitcoin was valued at the actual value of Bitcoin rather than what Michael Saylor says as a hedge against inflation, then Bitcoin would probably level off at around $5,000 per Bitcoin, because there's no other use case for it other than a store of wealth or a hedge against inflation like gold. But to buy gold necklaces because you think the value of gold is going to go up is a good hedge against inflation, but you're not going to get rich from it. Gold is at $4,000. Everybody's like, oh yeah, but gold went up to $4,000. Yeah, but that's because they printed more money, more cash in the last year than they ever did in the history of the world. And so the value of the US dollar went down so much, and what goes up? Gold. And everybody thinks they're going to get rich. No, you only buy gold if you're rich already, in my opinion. I mean, I have some, but I'm certainly not expecting it to shoot to the moon. The reason why is there's not a finite supply of it. They can dig up more anytime they want. They are digging up more out of the earth every day. And there's probably an asteroid on its way with even more, for all we know. If there's such a thing as space and asteroids, which I'm starting to question now, everything in the world that I ever learned. So I don't know. I can't say what's actually true or not, but I do know that Ripple, the founder Ripple, has been meeting with all of the banks, all the institutions, and has contracts and agreements in place with almost everybody, including the banks of Saudi Arabia, China, Japan. They're all getting on the XRP ledger. They're all getting on there. And to me, you can't all of a sudden switch things over to a digital currency. He was just in the White House the other day meeting with Trump. There's pictures of him all over the internet. The founder of CEO of Ripple and XRP with the president talking about the financial network, switching everything over to digital currency. XRP seems to be the one that can handle the transactions on the back end. I mean, we would still be US dollars. Everything would be the same on the front side. No one's going to be trading XRP for candy bars at the 7-Eleven. But I think what happens is when you use your debit card or whatever, the processing behind the scenes, instead of the Swift network, exchanging currencies or doing the exchange rate, it's going to be on the Ripple blockchain. That's what I'm hearing through the grapevine, through all the in the know people that I've followed over the years that actually do have more knowledge about it than me. Now, again, I'm not going to bet that that's going to happen, but they're saying that if all of the planets align, then XRP will be $1,000. And what's the likelihood of all planets aligning? Well, they all are being put in position. It's not that they would have to do this and that. It's those things that have to happen are actually in the process of happening. So it's kind of like, to me, it's a matter of when, not if. But I think that the people that are really going to hurt and the people that are really going to be sorry are the ones who gave up on it and said, yeah, this is bullshit. They just keep manipulating. It's never going to get higher than this price. And then boom, one day it will be. And then that'll be over with. So Liga says Swift is developing their own solution. That is true. They are trying to do it on the I forget what network. It's the Lemur network or something like that. However, that still operates on that still would be operating on the Ripple network and behind the scenes. And not only that, Ripple is not trying to work with Swift. Ripple is trying to replace Swift. So Swift is antiquated and outdated. And even if Swift continues to be a processor for the main transactions, all Ripple would need is 14 or 15% of the entire market in order for it to be $1,000. It doesn't even need the whole thing. So again, I know I might sound like a pro XRP person the way I'm talking right now. I am, because I am trying to hoard a lot of it right now, just in case that happens. But I started buying it at 15 cents before they had their first legal problem, and that money was frozen. It was delisted off the exchange. And then it came back on when they won the legal battle with the SEC. And then it was up to 49 cents by then. So I'm up pretty good from 15 to 49 cents when I bought more. And we were long in this group at 49 cents before the announcements of breakout. It shot up 1,500% after that. And so I'm up pretty good right now, even if I sold everything at $3. But I'm definitely expecting a lot more for XRP over the coming weeks and months.
Maybe I would say the very strong use case of it for XRP. That's why it is as hammered and manipulated as it is. That's the very reason that it's been it's probably trading at 25% of what it would have been otherwise, and that's because of the very strong use case of it. And they've created this shooting gallery for the shorts, and they open fire repeatedly, and that's why the price is as depressed as it is. And I don't know. You say you don't know if another flash crash is coming. If it could happen even once again, that would be devastating for any kind of confidence in this token. Once last week was pretty devastating. Oh, yeah. To happen 2 or 3 times again is just going to ruin it. I
For some
think
people, yeah. Yeah, for a lot of people, it was. I didn't say I didn't know if it was going to ever happen again. I said it definitely will happen again. I just don't know when. And I don't know if it's going to be XRP. Bitcoin's done that a dozen times over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, the great conversation. We can pick that up on the next call. And the more information I get about it, I'm trying to get, by the way, Jake Craper, I can't remember his last name. Trying to get him on a call with us. He's
Claver.
Clap. What was it?
Jake Claver. I was just going to ask you about him because I've been following him a lot. He's like seems like the expert out there.
Yeah, his assistant has responded to me a couple of times. They're trying to set something up and see if it's worth his time. I told them, listen, I have a couple hundred people. I have a couple thousand people in my mastermind, at least a couple hundred people that would be on the call with him, which is more people that he would talk to on a one-on-one for $500. So, because he charges like $5,000 just to have a conversation with him. But we'll try to get him on. And he's in the know. He goes to all the events. He hangs out with all the bankers.
I have DM'd him, asked him to come on here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are stuck right here. I'm going to wrap it up. We got the onboarding starting at 2, but let me just show you this real quick. Nothing's really changed since we had this conversation. We've come up and hit this resistance. We're waiting for it to pop above. I am long on several positions that I shared in the signal channel right here. Here's all my open positions. It shows you the size, the entry, the margin that I'm risking, the leverage that I have, and my stop losses and take profits over here. I don't have any take profit targets, only stop losses. I do not want to limit myself on the possible pump to the upside. But if I see anything changing throughout the day, I will post it in the signal channel. And other than that, get on the onboarding if you're new. Thank you, Ron. Excellent discussion today. Thank you. Again, I don't have all the answers, guys, but I tend to not answer anything if I don't know for sure or don't know anything about it. I will say I don't know, but there are some things that I'm confident that will happen in the future. I think XRP is one of them that's going to be around for a while, and it will get to higher numbers. I mean, just remember, it was pennies also at one time, just like Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's over 100,000 right now. Now you might say, well, there's a reason for Bitcoin to be 100,000. There's only 21 million that will ever exist, but Bitcoin's not being used for anything. It doesn't need to be a certain price in order to maintain its price. It just needs more people having wallets. Whereas XRP needs to have a certain price in order to handle a certain amount of transactions if it ever gets to that point where it's taking care of all the transactions on the back end, which seems to be in the works from everybody that I've heard and listened to that actually would know. But with that being said, I'll believe it when I see it, just like you guys. But in the meantime, I'm not going to be caught with my pants down, so to speak, meaning I'm not going to not have any. If the switch flips and that thing goes to 10, 15, 20 bucks, I want to make sure I have a lot of it. If the flip switch and it drops to a dollar, I'm still going to have a lot of it. It's just going to be worth less. That's all. It's just going to be worth less until it grows again. I don't know. But that's the risk I'm taking. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. I got another appointment coming up here at 2. The onboarding starts in 2 minutes. Get on that. If you're new, if you have any questions, obviously ask it in the main chat and Discord, and we will see you guys on the next call on Wednesday, but I'll be in the chat if you need me.